All right, guys, I've kind of been avoiding this video long enough. I think it's time that I make it. I think it's time that I officially get it out there for y'all. And I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but last offseason, I know I just talk about what I got wrong nonstop on this channel. You'll probably think like, oh, what does Mason ever get right? But I killed the rookie running back evaluations last offseason. I had Miles Sanders as my RB1 before the draft, and right after the draft, I swapped him and Josh Jacobs in my official rankings. I had Sanders 2, Josh Jacobs 1, and then a chasm behind them. I thought that David Montgomery wasn't even in the conversation with the two other running backs, and here we are, however many months later. So I think that I'm confident in my ability to kind of profile these running backs and kind of just give a floor and ceiling evaluation of them and then work that into where I value them in Dynasty Fantasy Football rookie drafts and Dynasty leagues. So we're going to jump into it. But first, I owe y'all a massive thank you. I know I've actually been getting a lot of nice DMs lately. I've been seeing a lot of great YouTube comments with how much y'all appreciate these videos. We're going 2 a day. I know I talk about this at the beginning of every single video now, but y'all don't know. This is literally all I do now. All I do is research for these videos. All I do is go through and reply to y'all on Discord, but I can't complain. I have a lot of fun doing it. It is a lot of time that goes into it though. So because of that, I really ask y'all to make sure y'all leave a like on these videos. Make sure you leave a comment. And if you really, really enjoy them and you want to make a contribution past that, there is always the Patreon down in the description if you want to make a monthly donation to the show and get a couple perks back in return. But that's enough stalling. Let's jump right into it. First off, this is going to be surprising. I know this was what everyone had at the very beginning of the offseason, but everyone kind of switched their tone after the combine. I think the more I think about it, I have Deandre Swift as my running back one. A couple things go into this. First, he's really the only running back being discussed as going in the first round of the NFL draft at this point. I know everyone in the fantasy community loves Jonathan Taylor. There's a lot of great reasons to be high on Jonathan Taylor, but at this point, Deandre Swift is the most complete running back. He's the best pass-catching running back in the class, and not only is he a great pass catcher, but he's incredibly fast for his size too. He's in the 80th percentile when it comes to speed score, and he's best comparable to Miles Sanders. He also is extremely young, just turned 21 years old, and I really just like to think of Deandre Swift like a Miles Sanders, like an Alvin Kamara. He is extremely agile. He's more athletic and more explosive than most people want to give him credit for. And my favorite comparison for these two running backs in Deandre Swift is none of them got a massive workload in college. So I think all of these running backs are going to have a sneaky long career length in the NFL. And I think that Deandre Swift is going to be able to be a guy, especially with how young he is, to make it to that second NFL contract and actually play a couple years on his second contract. And we don't really see that across many running backs in the league right now. So I think Deandre Swift, just for myself, because of his pass catching ability, and I know a lot of people say, oh, he's too small. Yeah, I mean, he's short, but that doesn't really mean anything. He's 5'8", 212 pounds. This puts him in the 87th percentile when it comes to BMI. I don't care how small my running backs are when it comes to height. I just want them to be thick, and that's exactly what Deandre Swift is. So I think Deandre Swift checks every single box. I know he didn't have the production at Georgia, but you can't blame him. Look at what running backs he played behind. Look at him coming out of high school, and he was by far and away a top recruit going into Georgia. So there's nothing that he's done to lower him down my rankings now. Now let's get into the majority of everyone's RB1 for Dynasty, and this is Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is the best rusher in this class. He has the best production. He's the best athlete. He's pretty much elite in, I can't even count how many categories, but the one thing is, we don't know about his pass catching ability. I know that he really stepped it up his junior year, and that's what everyone is pointing towards. He had, I believe, it was single digit receptions, and then he gets to his junior year, and then he blows up with I want to say around 20. But still, if you look at Jonathan Taylor, he has an insane amount of drops. His drop rate it almost led the nation. And even whenever he was catching passes, they were never designed to go to Jonathan Taylor. It was kind of a last minute dump off. Hey, just get it to Jonathan instead of take the sack. So that's not his strength. And because of that, and because of the way the NFL's trending, I really think that Jonathan Taylor is going to go in the second round of the NFL draft. And I want to compare him to Darius Guice. He's very similar as Darius Guice was coming out of LSU. The only difference is Jonathan Taylor dwarfs him in production because if you remember, Darius Geis was stuck behind Leonard Fournette for a moment. But I think everything about his profile points directly towards Darius Geis with no injury concerns. And if that's the kind of running back you want, I mean, by all means, go out and get Jonathan Taylor. Now at the RB3, this running back's actually, after we get past the top two, all these running backs are really polarizing. With J.K. Dobbins, I don't understand what people are talking about. I know they're saying that, hey, Mike Weber stayed on the field. J.K. Dobbins wasn't able to completely beat him out and take down the 3-down workload. But if y'all remember, Mike Weber was a decent college running back. I mean, I don't understand how this is a slight towards J.K. Dobbins. It's not like some bum was there sharing the backfield with him. Mike Weber was a good running back, so I'm really willing to overlook that when it comes to the J.K. Dobbins evaluation, because J.K. Dobbins is just good at everything and he has no holes in his game. He can play. I mean, he can play in the receiving game. He's not necessarily a weapon, but he's going to be above average when it comes to that at the NFL level, and he's an above average rusher, and he's supposed to be a fantastic athlete. We didn't get to see how he tested this offseason, but if you look at years past with these official numbers, I mean, he's elite. He's right up there with Deandre Swift, right up there with Jonathan Taylor. I do want to say, though, I believe he has the lower ceiling of the three. I can't see him ever sneaking up into the top 6 of any Dynasty startup draft, where I could see Deandre Swift or Jonathan Taylor realistically being a top 3 Dynasty startup pick at some point in their career. J.K. Dobbins does not have that upside. But at the same time, I don't think he really has a low floor whatsoever. I think worst case scenario, J.K. Dobbins is going to be a low-end RB2 for your team. He's definitely going to have a role in the NFL, whether that's a feature back role or whether that's just a committee type player. We don't know. But I think J.K. Dobbins has the ceiling to be an every down running back in the NFL. And really, there's nothing else to the evaluation. Now, let's go down to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is someone that's so hard to evaluate, and I'm probably going to be off of him in most leagues. I know it's weird, just because he is maybe the best pass-catching running back in this league, if not Deandre Swift, but he's not a great athlete, and a sneaky thing with these running backs, I know nobody really talks about it unless you play in Devy leagues, but I actually like to see a high school pedigree coming out of these running backs out of high school, because if you look back, really the only running back that came out of nowhere that was not on anyone's radar out of high school was David Johnson. Beyond that, pretty much all of these running backs are somewhat on the map before they come out. We have Josh Jacobs, DJ Johnson, David Johnson, and I don't know how many running backs came out of nowhere, which is kind of what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did. And it makes me question whether he was just a piece in this elite offense, probably one of the best college football offenses we've ever seen, led by Joe Burrow and Joe Brady. And that just makes me want to avoid him for Dynasty Fantasy Football, because I don't think he has the high ceiling. He's not a good enough athlete to say, hey, he can be an RB1. I think he's a very safe RB2, just because I can see an NFL team going out and taking him at the end of the second round in the NFL draft. But with his lack of athletic ability, I can't ever see him becoming a top 20 startup pick, so I'm most likely going to be off Clyde Edwards-Helaire unless he lands in a great spot. Now, the last running back of the 5, Cam Akers. Now, I know Cam Akers, some people have him as RB1, and he may very well be the RB1 when it comes to pure talent and athleticism, but I'm just not willing to make that investment into him when I am so confident that all these other 4 running backs are going to go within the top 100 NFL draft picks. And Cam Akers is just a question mark at this point. We don't know. I can easily see us looking at an Equanimeous St. Brown situation where he just falls down NFL draft boards, even though everyone in fantasy is so high on him, because Cam Akers is a fantastic running back. Cam Akers created so many missed tackles and created so many extra yards down there in Florida State. We know that he pretty much played on the worst situation that you could ever imagine. But I don't know how much NFL teams are going to be willing to overlook this and how much they're going to be willing to invest into Cam Akers. So if we go out and we see Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, and Deandre Swift all go in the top 100 picks of the NFL draft, and Cam Akers slides to the very end of the 3rd round, very beginning of the 4th round, I think he's confidently my RB5, and I can't put him anywhere else in the class. The only way I see myself moving him up is if he really surprises us and gets that second round draft capital. If that happens, I'm confident in saying that Cam Akers can jump. He will definitely jump Clyde Edwards-Helaire for me. If Cam Akers gets second round NFL draft capital, I don't care if Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets picked before him. Cam Akers is moving past CEH for me, and he is possibly moving past Dobbins. Just because I think the talent's there, I'm just worried about the opportunity. And we're not drafting for an NFL team. I know it's sad to say, but we're not important enough to sit here and say, and I pretend like, oh, if I had an NFL team, like blah, 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 Cam Akers would be my RB3. That's not how it works. We're drafting for opportunity, we're drafting for talent, and we're trying to find a nice combination of both. But thanks so much for watching the video, guys. I'm not going to get into any running backs past this until after the NFL draft, because there is a sharp decline after this, and I don't think any of the other running backs will go on day 2 of the NFL draft. And if you look at historical hit rates for day 3 running backs, they're laughable. We don't want to touch them, and I'm going to advise every listener of this show, if you have a rookie pick in the second round and there's a round 2 or round 3 rookie wide receiver there, and you're looking at, say, A.J. Dillon, who goes in the 4th round, do not draft the running back. Please, if they go on day 3, they are not going to be anything. I can confidently say that. So we're going to avoid the other running backs for this video. Maybe if one sneaks into round 3, or maybe if one really surprises us with a great landing spot, then I will be able to cover them after the NFL draft. But for now, not going to waste my time doing that. Really hope you all enjoyed the video, guys. Again, please leave a like. If y'all want these videos coming out twice a day, that's really going to help out. But appreciate it, guys.